after watching the film, it's exactly what I thought when I came. When you play against the zone, you have to play concepts. You can't play plays. You can have some quick hitters, but they've seen them all because they've been playing it for many, many years. So you have to know how to play against zone. And I thought we did a really good job in the first half with motion. We got the ball in the middle of the zone almost every possession. And that's hard to do sometimes against them, depending on the length of their guards up top. Once we got the ball in the middle, the two defensive guards at the top fan out. And they play the middle guy one-on-one with the 5-man. And they want you to shoot that 15 uncontested foot shot, and that's not a good shot. And so we tell the guys to catch it there. We put a bigger guy there, Jake or Dallas, to drive it in there against their big. If you can score, score. If not, you look opposite and you swing it. You kick it out and shoot a three or drive it. Or what you saw Jake do a lot, which is a really good concept, you dribble out to the top, and the big doesn't come out, so that forces those two top guards to scramble back to the top. Then you pass it to the 2 side, and you play. You either drive it, throw it in the post, or one down for 3. And I thought we did a really good job of that in the first half. We also went double low against it, but we did a poor job of throwing it in the post. When you go double low, they play back. They play behind the post. And the only person on the wing that did a good job of throwing it in the post was Damari Monsanto. And I knew we were good in transition. We got more stops in the first half, and we were very effective in transition, and that's why we had 42 points at halftime. We're shooting 53% from the field, 46 from 300 from the line. We had 18 of those points at the rim, and as of today, we're 3rd in the country in 2-point field goal percentage in the whole entire nation. And so things, we're going pretty good. Gerard made a play at the end of the half, which we shouldn't have had to happen, got fouled. But come out in the second half, try to throw it right inside right away. We turn it over. And that was a sign of things to come. I thought when we got the ball in the middle of the zone in the second half, we made really poor decisions. Didn't look opposite for wide open looks, forced the ball to the rim by the pass or the dribble, and we didn't dribble out of the zone to the top. We did one time, swung it and shot a 3 in the corner and made it. Our passing was very careless. We made careless passes to the middle of the zone, mostly unforced, just no fake and make, telegraphed. Now, Syracuse had active hands, and they ended up turning defense into offense, but they didn't adjust. They were a little more active, and we were poor passers. I think we had to play against the zone a little too much. Obviously, in the second half, we didn't get in transition because we were taking the ball out of the net too much because they were scoring and we weren't stopping them. They did turn offense into defense, which led to very poor defensive transition. We had a total whiff on a pass. We should have intercepted at the basket. The Boeheim passed out to his brother for 3 that really got him going. That should have never happened. We got beat one-on-one a lot in transition due to mismatches because you have to guard the closest guy. You can't just run to your man. And so we had a problem with some mismatches. We backpedaled one time in defensive transition, got beat over the top, which is inexcusable. But I thought they did a good job of taking advantage of mismatches on veer backs and drives, off ball screens. Now, Syracuse made a lot of tough contested shots, and I knew this coming into the game. According to our analytics, they're one of the best teams in isolation basketball in the country. I counted them yesterday. They made 16 contested tough twos with the body in between. That's 32 points. They made 5 contested threes. Almost half their points we contested. So sometimes you just got to shake their hand, go to the plane, go home, and move on. They were better. We actually shot the ball better up there than we did at home. But the big key to me was points in the paint here, points at the rim in the first game, and points off turnovers were even, but we outscored them from the free throw line. Second game, points in the paint, they scored 10 more than we did. They scored 11 more off turnovers. And they shot 25 free throws. We shot 10. Well, I think we shot 25 in the first game. I'm sorry. And made 16. We were -9 there, this game. So, you learn from it and you move on. The only stats I look at this time of year are the ACC stats, the conference stats. The Sun did come up today. We're 3rd in the league in scoring. We're first in the league in field goal percentage offense. We're fourth in the league in assists. We're first in the league in team defense, field goal percentage defense. 39% was a great number. Third in the ACC in guarding the three. And we're fourth in block shots, which is a miracle considering I think we were last year. Pitt's going to cause us some problems. They're a very good defensive team. They're physical. They're tough. They're second in the ACC, giving up only 65 a game. Third in, defensive field goal percentage. Second in the ACC in three-point, guarding the three line. Hughley, I don't want to say Joe Hughley. It's John Hughley because he's a way better player than Joe. He's a great player. He's a load on the block. Jamarius Burton's having a really good year. I had recruited him at East Tennessee State a long time ago. He's from North Carolina. Those guys are playing really well. They got a tough team, and I expect it to be a tough game on Wednesday. With that being said, I'll open it up to questions.
Steve, correct me if I'm wrong here, but it seems like transition defense has not been much of an issue for your guys before the Syracuse game. Do you think that was just a blip on the radar, or
we've had our moments where, Connor, I think we've had our moments where we've struggled with it. To be honest, when you shoot the ball as well as we do, a lot of times the other team is taking the ball out of the net. It's really hard. Defensive transition is hard on turnovers, atomic bombs, whatever you want to call them. Because you're not in balance, and they're playing 2-on-1, 3-on-2, 3-on-1, whatever it is, and so that puts you at a big disadvantage, and so you can't do that. And we had too many of those in the second half, and then you got to go back and guard the guy that you're back there with, and sometimes we had the wrong people guarding Buddy Boeheim or Swider. Now you got to give Swider credit. He made some tough shots now, and he got rolling, and we gave him that confidence by not getting stops. And so I think a lot of the defensive transition issues, to be honest, in this game was off turnovers, not so much maybe off missed shots.
Steve, you've said in the past that your best teams, when you get this late in the season, start to kind of coach themselves in a lot of ways, start to kind of lead themselves. What kind of response are you looking to see in practice today that gives you a signal that this team is capable of doing that?
Well, they've already kind of showed that, just the maturity level less, just not, learning from what we show them and then just moving on and not living in the past, having a next play, next game mentality, bringing a workmanlike attitude to what we're doing. I don't think that'll be a problem. I thought they got a little loose, I don't know. I don't want to say overconfident because they weren't, but just a little loose maybe this week, and I'll take some of that blame. I think it's a fine line. You want them to feel confidence, you want them to have fun, and I spanked them a few times, about staying, on point. But, obviously after a loss, you get their attention a little bit better than you do after a win. And I've always said that, sometimes when you watch the film after a win, it's not as good as you think it was. And sometimes after a loss, it's not as bad. Now, I think this game, the first half was fine, and we know what to do offensively. It was we just made some really bad decisions. And I think you got to give them credit too, right? They played. They got good players, and had a great crowd. They had 23,000 in there. And once as I've said before, it's not the crowd's job to get you going. It's your job to get the crowd going, and they got going, right? Buddy starts making threes, Swider's making shots, and now the place is going crazy. And credit to them.
Steve, can you talk a little about Isaiah and his impact this year? I mean, I know a lot of the other guys have gotten a lot of the ink, but he could have, when half of America was transferring, he could have transferred and he stayed around. I mean, what does it say about a guy like that?
Well, he's got great character, and he's really a leader, where a lot of guys struggle with that because they can't lead themselves off the court. If you can't lead yourself on and off the court, you can't be a leader. And so he's a very good person, a great teammate. He's got great communication skills when he says things. people listen. It's kind of like, the old E.F. Hutton. When E.F. Hutton talks, everybody listens. I know a lot of you young guys have no idea what I'm talking about, but John probably does.
That was a great commercial.
Yeah. But now we've had some guys in the past that have talked, and I went, oh, no, you need to be quiet. Okay. No. So there's none of that with him. And I think he's really embraced his role. He's really become a really good defensive player. He's worked hard at it, not just on the ball, but off the ball. He's really good in the help. He's really good stripping and ripping. He's guarding the ball. And then he's he didn't make a lot of shots on Saturday, but he's shooting the ball at a pretty high clip. According to the stats, shooting 36 from 3, 89 from the line, 46 from the field is pretty darn good. And I think he's embraced the fact that he's got good players around him. And so they're looking for him, and he knows his role. He gets on the glass. He just does a lot of those things that don't always show up, maybe at the press conference. But lucky to have him. Glad we have him. Tremendous person, and I've got a lot of great qualities. He's going to be a big success in life.
Steve, one of the things you mentioned on the teleconference kind of piqued my interest in this. How much did you prioritize or did you prioritize at all in the recruiting process, in the transfer portal, guys that had been on winning teams before, guys that kind of knew what it took to get to the NCAA tournament?
Connor, that might be one of the most important things that I look at. I don't want to give away all the top secrets here, NATO. But I've always recruited players from championship programs. Like, I've always been a big believer that state champions in high school know what they're doing. You know what I mean? They know how to win. And I've had some teams where I had 5 starters that won state championships. I think that's important. I thought it was really important to go into the portal and find players that not only, had won at a high level, like been to the NCAA tournament, but also been coached. You know what I mean? Like, it's nice to have those guys. They know what to do. You don't have to spend a lot of time explaining where the midline is, or, how to seal down or veer back or whatever the word is. They know. And so I thought it was important. It's important to get a good player. Don't get me wrong, but anybody can be the leading scorer on a bad team. And I was looking for guys that could play, but had played in really good programs for really good coaches that have won.
Do you see that stuff show up during games more, or during practices when you're coaching the terminology that you're talking about there?
Probably both, but initially early practice, right? Because you're going to practice a long time before you play. Today's practice plan, I think, is practice number 129 on the year from June. And so, practice initially just made it, we could get so much farther ahead right away in June and July and August, because I didn't have to reteach a lot of things to those guys. They knew, and then they helped teach the younger guys. That's what you want. You want the older guys to teach the younger guys. It's kind of what Les asked me about, coaching themselves. And so I probably saw it early, but then in the games, they don't get flustered. We have our moments. Come on, any team does, but they've just been through it. Dallas has a calm, to himself, and he's always going to block his guy out. He's going to do a lot of fundamental things correctly. Man-man's been in it. Hadim's been in it. Jake's been in it. Damari played. He played last year. He played at 27 at Alabama on the road. I mean, he's not going to shrink from the moment. And so, those guys, I think that's invaluable when you get to that point.
Got anything else for Coach today?
Yeah, I do. Steve, you kind of talked about the good things and the bad things in the Syracuse game, and you mentioned how they might have gotten a little bit loose. And you also mentioned that you get their attention more after a loss. I guess there's really no such thing as a good loss, but does this qualify in terms of moving guys forward and getting them back online?
Not really, Mike. I mean, dang it, you want to win them all, man. And that's the way I look at it. I think it just gets down to how you handle it. I guess we'll know, right? We'll find out. I have faith in these guys that, we've done it all year long. We lost a couple games on the road, tough, when we opened up ACC, and then we came right back and won, and had some hard games, Florida State, Syracuse, Virginia, and so I don't know. I mean, yeah, I think it's how you handle it and how, we handle it as a staff. I'm not one to really lose my mind over a loss. I did address a few things in the locker room after the game. I felt that it needed addressed, but they're already feeling bad and embarrassed. They don't like to lose, and those are the kind of guys you want in your program. And so I don't know. I think that we'll see. We'll have practice today and tomorrow, and pregame practice Wednesday, and hopefully we'll play better on Wednesday against Pitt. But I think you got to give credit to our opponent too. I think sometimes we get too caught up in what we did wrong, or we didn't do this, or we didn't do that. How about Syracuse played really well? Okay, credit to them, and they're like us. They want to win. They're trying to get better, and credit to them for coming home and really playing well. And we had something to do with it, but they had a lot to do with the way they played well too.
And then in terms of Pitt and kind of the schedule, looking down the schedule now, it's scheduling in that normal Wednesday weekend, Tuesday weekend kind of thing. Is this an opportunity now for you guys to maybe get into that rhythm as you go down the stretch here?
Yeah.
To get started?
I like that a lot. Honestly, I don't know if we benefited from having those days off between Boston College and Syracuse. We were playing pretty well. We were playing at a high level. We had a lot of confidence. Maybe those extra days off, no excuse. Maybe that didn't help us. Being in a rhythm right now it's a rhythm sport, and I agree. I like knowing we're going to play Wednesday, Saturday, maybe a Tuesday in there. I would prefer not to play an 8:00 game on the road. It makes it for a long night, but I don't get any choice in that. I will say this: I was shocked at how quick a flight it is from Syracuse back to Winston. I thought it was going to be a lot farther, and it was only about an hour or something. And I was thinking we were going all the way to Canada, but we almost did. From what I saw, Lake Ontario was only 30 miles away, and it was cold. I know you're from Chicago. I'm from Iowa, but I know what cold. Cold is when your nose freezes shut. And I went to Fargo last year at East Tennessee State. We played North Dakota State. That's how hard scheduling was. I had to go there, and I felt like I was in Fargo in Syracuse. But the dome was awesome. It's the warmest dome I've ever been in. I'm usually cold in those things, warm dome. All the credit in the world to the facilities people at the Cuse for having a warm dome. It was awesome.
Well, they know a thing or two about heat up there.
They do. They know how to get snow off the road too. There wasn't any snow on that road. They got that figured out. It's a neat place. I never played there, and so I was interested to be there, and then to see the Ring of Honor. To see Coach Boeheim and Pearl Washington, who's my age, and then Floyd Little and Jim Brown and Ernie Davis. That movie, The Express, is a great movie. It was pretty cool. Pretty cool to be there.
All right. Anything else?
Phew, you guys are getting easy. All right.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks. See you.